Thank you, Kerry, and thank you all for being here. It's great to be presenting at the Resources Rising Stars, and it's quite fitting that I should present after one of the directors on Eastern Metals board. Okay. So Eastern Metals is a base and precious metals explorer with 2 advanced exploration projects as defined by the Valman Code, one in the Northern Territory and the other in the Cobar Basin of New South Wales. We also have a greenfields project in northern New South Wales in the fairly underexplored Thomson Origin. And Home of Bullion has a 3.1 million tonne copper equivalent resource of 2.9%, almost 3%. But one of the things that has attracted me to Eastern Metals is the company's got its foot in both camps. So it's got advanced exploration projects and it's got greenfields plays, and the greenfields play has a potential for a large mineralisation system. And the way in which I've structured this talk today, I'm starting with the most advanced project, which is Home of Bullion and the copper deposit, moving on to the Browns Reef advanced zinc-dominated project, and then moving on to Thomson Origin. The corporate snapshot, we have currently have a very small market cap of about 2.7 million. That is partly due to the fact we only have 82.5 million shares on issue. So it's a tight capital structure. And we also have about 1.4 million in the bank. People have asked me what attracted me to the role, and as Kerry mentioned, it is very much about the people and projects. And I could spend at least 10 minutes talking about the people alone, but the board and CFO come with a highly credentialed and have broad and depth of experience when it comes to discovery, development, monetisation and governance. So I feel very, very privileged to work with such an experienced team. Jason Burton and Mark Dugmore, 2 of our directors, are here today, so feel welcome to bail them up. And I'll also take the time to mention some other names that aren't on this slide, and that's Gary Jones, Bob Richardson and Samantha Murray. Gary Jones, along with Bob Duffin, they worked together with GeoPico back in the 1970s and were part of the team that discovered North Parkes in New South Wales. And I'll also give a shout out to Samantha Murray. She's our senior exploration geologist, and she's done a fantastic job with building relationships in the local communities, particularly the Cobar Basin. As for myself, I'm a geologist by trade. I grew up in a remote mining manufacturing town in South Australia. My family and myself, we worked for BHP, and mining's been a really big part of my life, and it's an industry I'm quite passionate about. So that's not a bad segue into this next slide, which shows that mining really is a big part of everyone's lives. And I won't dwell too much on this, but particularly given the government policies with the push towards other forms of energy, copper and zinc are going to be in demand in the future for wind turbines, batteries, EVs, solar panels. So given the underinvestment in the last 10 to 15 years and the time it takes for approval for a mining project, these shortages potentially may come to play. But one of the things is in December last year, the Australian government updated its critical minerals list, but it also released a new list called the Strategic Materials List. And on that list is copper and zinc. So Australia is starting to recognise that these base metals, which have been mined for thousands of years, are becoming important. And incidentally, they are also on the US and Canadian critical minerals list. So they're starting to gain recognition as being vitally important for how the economy moves forward. So starting off with the Arunta project, this slide gives you an overall view of our tenement package in the Northern Territory. The package is about 280 kilometres north of Alice Springs, and south of Tennant Creek, just to the east of the Stewart Highway, near Barrow Creek, and Home of Bullion is probably about 20 k's off the main highway, so it's in a strategically located position. Our focus is mostly on the northern group of tenements, and Prospect D has copper nickel mineralisation, which has been mapped at surface for about 2 kilometres. And of course we have Home of Bullion. So now if you just focus onto the image on the left there, that shows you a close-up of the Home of Bullion tenements with other prospective other prospects. And Mulbangus, which is just to the northwest there, it's a copper prospect, and between Mulbangus and Home of Bullion, that's about 8 kilometres, and that's underlain by a magnetic structure. So it's certainly worth exploring. Zooming in now to the Home of Bullion project. The project was acquired prior to listing in October 2021, and since that time, Eastern Metals have drilled 4 diamond holes at the end of 2022. And with that, that increased the tonnage from 2.5 million to 3.1, which is not a bad return. So the resource increased by about 25%, and the contained metal increased by almost 30% on the back of 4 diamond holes. So these results show that the potential to grow the resource is there. It's it's a structurally complex, thought to be VMS style, but there's there's a lot of work to be done around that to determine. But essentially, it's highly structurally controlled, which needs a bit of work. Moving on to the Cobar Basin, and I've put this slide up to give you a bit of an idea of the activity in the region, which most of you are probably aware of. But what's interesting is that Metals Acquisition, which acquired the CSA mine from Glencore back in 2022 for 1.1 billion, made an announcement last week that they issued their prospectus to ASIC on the 26th of January, looking to raise 300 million and listing on the ASX in late February. So if they can pull that off, that'll be quite an interesting development in the Cobar Basin. I'll also take the time to mention Kingston Resources. They are producing gold at the moment, but they're in the process of recommissioning their flotation plant by mid-year. So they're within 100 k's of Browns Reef, and also to Peel Mining, which are in the throes of developing their projects to the northwest of us. You would have heard earlier today from Legacy Minerals. They're also doing some work in the region, along with Talisman, who will be speaking later this afternoon. So zooming in into Browns Reef, which is, as I mentioned, the southern Cobar Basin. It has a strike length of around 6 kilometres. And there's 2 high-grade pods called Evergreen and Pineview, and the strike between those 2 high-grade zones is about 2.7 kilometres, and that's comparable to Peel Mining's Wagga Tank Southern Nights project that they're currently developing. Future drilling by Eastern Metals will focus on the Evergreen zone and then moving on to Pineview eventually. So that's a long section. So if you slice the strike of the strike length from north to south, stand in Lake Cargelligo and look west, this is what you'll find. So it shows that the mineralisation is currently open along strike and at depth. Moving now on to the Thompson project. This is quite exciting in my view. It's in the Thompson Origin in northern New South Wales, and it's been relatively underexplored for a while now, due to the fact that there's about 100 to 200 metres of Eromanga Basin sediments. So it's very difficult to get do any geochemical work at surface. It relies very much on geophysics. And we have two tenements, Harrier and Falcon, about 120 k's north of Wilcannia. And what we're doing there is, in the next slide I'll move on, Bob Richardson, a geophysicist who's done some work for Eastern Metals, he has identified a number of discrete magnetic anomalies. And as an interesting backstory, Bob Richardson's father helped develop or pioneer exploration geophysics back in the 1930s and 40s. So we have identified three priorities here, and I'll just briefly talk to you about one of them, which is Cut B. Oh, sorry, I'll move to this slide first. So this is the premise for our sort of exploration model. The key thing to take away here is the intensity and the size. So I've drawn on three of the New South Wales Cobar mines, which is Great Cobar, Endeavour and CSA. And four of our anomalies are sitting there on the right-hand side. So they're of a similar scale, shape and intensity. This is a highly technical slide, but it's modelling done on one of the anomalies. And about a decade ago, Thomson Resources put some diamond holes down, and they think that they might have skimmed the edge of a magnetic body, but encouraging results. And it's what they drilled through was thought to be similar to the halo that's around Endeavour. So coming up, we're looking to increase the resource at Home of Bullion and add value and de-risk that project along with Cobar. We've got field work planned in the second quarter of the calendar year. With the Thomson project, we're currently seeking JV partners, and we're looking to put some drill holes into those three identified priorities, and we're looking to get a maiden JORC resource for Browns Reef. So in summary, Eastern Metals has got two advanced projects, Home of Bullion and Browns Reef. We're looking to de-risk those and advance them. They're both located in Tier 1 jurisdictions, and we've also got the Thomson project with a large mineral system, which is, as I mentioned, is quite interesting, and a highly experienced team. So thank you very much.